Thanks for joining us. My name is Ibrahim Sani. Today we shall talk about the medical world. Joining us in the studio is Dr. Rachna Kairon, the Managing Director of Synapse Laboratory. She is, of course, a microbiologist, a clinical microbiologist and pathologist at that. Let's look at the business of Synapse Lab, Dr. Rachna,
Sure.
in terms of what you guys offer, what are the kind of facilities that you have, and of course, what kind of markets you operate in.
Synapse Laboratory was set up about 17 years ago. I founded it. We set it up as a molecular diagnostic facility and I've extended it into genetic testing. So because I feel that genetics is the science of the future, so I had to extend all the services that I have into the future, thereby increasing the number of genetic kind of profiles that we have. So I'm proud to say that at Synapse, not only we do wellness genetic testing, but we also enable cancer testing, children looking for genetics for children with rare disorders. So we have a full comprehensive 360 solution for genetics, both for direct to consumer as well as for healthcare professionals.
Yeah. If I remember correctly, that would place this creation of Synapse Labs around the time where the Human Genome Project was being done?
A little after that.
We
set up Synapse in 2006. And progressively from there on, I have always had a passion to look at forward-looking technologies and therefore have gradually expanded the number of products that I have in Synapse. And as of today, I'm proud to say that we are probably one of the few laboratories in the region that has all-encompassing genetic and molecular products.
Okay, let's look into this business itself, because I have been fascinated about genetics and DNA for quite some time. In fact, I was perhaps at that point in time, I'm pretty sure I was among the first Malaysians to do a 23andMe testing.
Okay, yeah.
I can't remember when.
Yes,
they were just launched, right? And,
sure,
and I took the sample to be sent to my friend's address in California. He flew back to KL to visit his family. Gave my sample testing. He brought back the sample. This was the day of pre-COVID, so nobody can, it was to that degree. And of course, I want to learn more about what has transpired over the past 17 or so years in terms of you doing this business. Do you feel that the interest of this particular field is actually a little bit more pronounced more than ever because of COVID? And where do you see the trend moving forward when it comes to this business growing, particularly at the advent of AI?
So in the past 10 years, genetic testing has advanced tremendously. 10 years ago, primarily it was in the realm of clinical diagnostics, especially in the cancer field, where you looked at certain kind of genetic mutations so that you could treat the patient accordingly. But in the past 10 years, it has progressed to even wellness testing, where we just look at your whole genetic profile through various kind of technologies available in the market today and guide you and tell you about even fun facts such as your nutritional requirements or your weight management programs, but also at prediction or risk management for certain genetic diseases that you may get in your lifetime. Look at carrier traits, guide children as to what kind of disorders they would get as they get along in life. So it's become an all-encompassing field where there is increasing information available. It all stems from the fact that we now have the capacity to look at even your whole genome. And as evidence-based medicine grows over the years, we will be able to analyze more and more. That is where my vision is, to actually look at wellness testing as not something, a fearful subject which people thought about it as 10 years ago, but something which is something to know more and become aware about your own health. Because good health really begins at the point of being aware of your genetics. And from there on, we go on analyzing more. So to answer your question about AI is where we look at data science and analysis of what this genetic means. As you know, we have almost over 23,000 genes all of us have, and over 3 billion data points or chemical tidbits in our body which we need to analyze. With increasing AI and advances in science and medicine, we are able to understand what those mean and translate into health and disease in our body. And that is something which I hope to bring to public as well as healthcare professionals.
I guess the only challenge that is going to encumber your progress in this line of work is capital. The way I look at it, how do you feel yourself getting empowered in terms of capital Are you looking for funding? Are you looking for funders? Are you looking for collaboration? Is there an amalgamation in place with other labs? Where do you see yourself getting stronger through financial means?
It was an extremely big challenge for me, of course, as an entrepreneur when I started out to raise funding, because this kind of business is not only required a large amount of working capital, but also the technology itself needs a lot of assets which need a lot of capital to purchase. So I'm happy to say that we have already been through this journey and we are in a reasonably comfortable position as of today. And going forward, of course, we are looking to expand into geographies. And one of the wellness products that I have, which is called My Precise DNA, and you can look it up on the website, we actually plan to take it to different geographies in the region, thereby giving our product from Malaysia, place it on the map. And for that, of course, we're looking at collaborative partners primarily. But of course, as a business woman, as a business entrepreneur, funding is always welcome. And we continue to talk to various equity partners as well.
And does this mean that you would also look for legitimacy in terms of working with regulatory bodies, the respective ministries of health or similar from other geographies and nations?
Genetics is a field which requires a lot of regulatory compliances. And being a laboratory that is ISO certified as well as certified by College of American Pathologists, which is an international certification, it is very important for me and as a priority to conform to all the compliances in every geography. It is very important not only from the Ministry of Health perspective, but also from the patient perspective, where we want to ensure that we ensure their data privacy, their data confidentiality, as well as giving them the right kind of ethics, ethical information, in concordance with a clinical consult, while taking the right amount of consents from them. So we really want to make it something which is a good solution for people to have and not be fearful of it in any way. Could it be in terms of medical information or even in terms of ethics and compliance?
But this also means that you need a timeline in terms of approval or regulatory audits to be done.
Some of the governments have certain guidelines which are available. So we just conform to this. For example, there is a PDPA Act, which is a Malaysian Act, so we conform to that Act as we go into different geographies. That's how we follow compliances. In the medical laboratory space itself, there are a lot of compliances that we have to adhere to under our ISO, which is the ISO 15189. That itself gives us a lot of ring-fenced space in which to perform. So we definitely try to adhere to those.
That of course is actually quite critical, and of course I'm sure you're looking into that. Another area that I want to explore is in terms of where is the money? We're talking about you being an entrepreneur here. This is a business after all. Servicing oncology requirements is also important, but at the same time wellness is also critical in terms of trying to get the upper market, upper mass affluent in terms of buying your product. Do you feel that you have to, it's an either or kind of game in terms of doing good for the society and trying to treat for some oncology detection requirements? Or do you feel that it's actually complementing each other? Where would be the focus, and is it an either or kind of question?
As somebody who has a vision for enabling a genomic profile for everybody, I feel, because that's the starting point of science and your health for the future, I would hope that it becomes affordable and accessible for every person. However, I do understand that finance and the affordability is an issue. Therefore, it has always been a challenge for me to find a balance between a product which is priced correctly and therefore placed correctly. In addition to that, I want to have certain mechanisms in place where we provide perhaps even financial means to enable it, or even partnerships with platforms where they can have payments staggered over a few months, or to work with the healthcare professionals where they can provide solutions where they can stagger payments for customers over a period of time. And of course, I am also now venturing into digital ventures and spaces where I will have innovative ways to allow people to be able to build their own genetic profiles.
So am I correct to assume that based on your response just now, it's still wellness for now and not so much cancer detection and the likes?
So there are two aspects to this. A B2C product is what we call a wellness product, where within certain regulatory and compliance purview, I'm able to sell products direct to the consumer. They primarily cater to the wellness segment. But at the same time, Synapse is a laboratory that also works with hospitals, medical centers, general practitioners, clinicians. We work with the healthcare stakeholders, and those are the people who actually are into diagnostics, therapeutics, and other kinds of medical genetic aspects. So we also provide services to them. So for us, it is very important to be all inclusive in our service. We not only work on a direct to consumer testing, but we work very closely with healthcare providers. Here I'd like to stress that we also like to have something like what we call transitioning general practitioners into precision healthcare, where we actually train general practitioners or some of those practitioners who have not been very comfortable with genetics and interpreting results and those technical laboratory informations. So we have an onboarding system where we actually train, and we work collectively very closely with the healthcare community to actually educate them to transform their practice into precision genomics, and then so that they can actually then transform their customers, their patients into precision genomics.
And do you feel that that becomes quite a critical factor on top of all the other stuff that you mentioned, business, distribution, product setting, pricing, and then of course the laboratory capacity itself, and the scientists that you are needing to grow? At the end of the day, you still have to train the medical practitioners themselves and the healthcare workers. If they are not too familiar or comfortable working with genomics, game over, you can't get the word out there.
Absolutely.
So it seems like you have your hands full in terms of pushing the needle.
And I think key opinion leaders and stakeholders are very, very important to us. As laboratory professionals, it's very, very important that we work very closely with the healthcare professionals to educate them on precision genomics. Of course, in terms of cancer medicine, all the oncologists and specialists are sometimes very aware of this product. So then, of course, we work directly with them to provide this service, while at the same time continuing to hold continuing medical education programs, bringing in newer technologies, updating them on recent advances from the laboratory side. So yes, we work hand in glove with all our stakeholders, and to me that's very, very important. Much as I can have wellness products which are direct to consumer, I would like to honor the clinician's aspect of which I can never replace, which is talking directly to a patient and telling them why it's so important to have
this information.
I am, and I sit on both sides of the fence, and I'd like to honor both of us as laboratory professionals to support clinicians, and at the same time work with clinicians to integrate precision medicine and DNA testing into their practice.
My sister-in-law, she can't be a clinician, so she just pursued an academic career instead. And I can appreciate that fact because it's not easy being a clinician. Let's look at the harder part of the conversation, and I believe me when I say that I believe this is the harder part, not the ones that you're doing your work. That is, I guess you got that pat down. Sometimes you get a patient that doesn't believe in science, that doesn't believe in early detection, diagnostics, that doesn't want to know what that person doesn't have or have. And this is a consumer behavior that is, I guess, dead in the water. These are the kind of people that don't believe in vaccines or believe that vaccines cause autism. That's one aspect. Another aspect is I believe in medicine and I believe in vaccines and preventative care and genomics. I understand that, but I don't want to get myself diagnosed because I have been leading an unhealthy lifestyle or whatever the reason may be. How do you deal with these kind of patients on this particular spectrum of, I guess, I don't know how to put it, rejection to science maybe, or bring your head in the ground kind of situation? How do you deal with these kind of consumers?
Education and awareness for the consumer is an extremely challenging task for us, because we are talking about technology here, and I would say for some it's almost futuristic technology, because people think that genomics is still the purview of what might happen tomorrow. It doesn't relate to my body today.
This is a belief held by some?
Some people are fearful about learning more about their body. Like you said, like if I know what cancer I have, I don't want to learn about it today. So I think even the potential of having a risk of cancer is an information I may not want to have today.
Yeah.
So there will be a certain section of society which is ring-fenced by this kind of information. My challenge is to reach out to them. And one way I reach out to them is digitally. Which is very important in this age of social media, when bringing awareness to your doorstep, to your mobile, is very important. And that's why I'm now venturing into digital healthcare, where I bridge that last mile connectivity. The last mile connectivity is what is going to bring, bring an outreach to customers, to healthcare providers, where we can educate and make them aware about what genetics means for their health. And it's nothing to be fearful of. In fact, it would be exciting to know about my health so that I can make lifestyle changes. A lot of doctors look at just prescription. What I would like to convey is the message of a care plan, where I'm really looking at what I can do in my life, what kind of lifestyle changes I can make, what kind of supplements I can take, what is the new evidence-based medicine that I can integrate into my life today, and how I can be empowered to hold that information in my hand so that I can live longer, I can have a healthier life. And as I said, this last mile connectivity with healthcare providers as well as the public at large is very important for me to be able to educate and transfer this message.
This idea of empowering the individual, it's going to be a tough hill to climb. We've seen how, say, for instance, when the vaccine rollout was done, the then health minister held various conferences, information and all this. So I'm trying to understand where the situation is right now. Is there a generational friction, so to speak, in terms of people being more identifying this kind of group versus the others? Are the younger generation, for instance, or psychographically younger people more attuned to science and science-based, evidence-based medicine and so on?
I wouldn't have data to actually support this, but as a general fact, anecdotal fact, what I could state is that perhaps youngsters are more aware, especially when you try to connect with them digitally. They are aware of things that, and they're more receptive to information coming. At the same time, I wouldn't negate some of the seniors who are actually at that point in life much more aware of how they felt sick and how it might be good to have that information with them. So the few years that they have left, the life should get much better. And I think social media plays a large part in it, and especially even the media houses play a large part. I'm talking to you today. So this kind of dissemination of information is extremely important so that people become more and more aware of what it means to have health in their own hands. And as you previously asked, COVID-19 itself was a great impetus to get people more aware of their health. Nobody knew what a PCR was till a few years ago, and now everybody is talking of DNA and RNA and PCR. So I think it is improving, and progressively as we go forward. Personally for me, I would like to have me and my business placed right there ahead of time, waiting for all those transitions to happen.
One last area of exploration I want to do with you is in terms of the haves and the have-nots. When we look at building a care plan, building a preventative lifestyle, trying to do all you can with the objective of not to be prescribed something at the end of the day. These are the kind of worries that is more amplified, if I may, for those that in the haves category. And while we appreciate the kind of requirements that these categories have, the have-nots just have too many things to worry on their plate right now, and they can't be thinking about. In fact, these things are not even in their conscience, let alone thinking about it. Do you feel that these kind of value proposition that you bring to the market just increases the disparity gap between the haves and the have-nots?
I would like to believe that I am trying to enable an affordable and accessible technology and information about yourselves. I will try my best to make it more affordable and accessible, not just for the people who can have and afford, but also for the have-nots. And one way to do this is through digital means, and I have more innovative ventures lined up as an entrepreneur where I believe I'll be able to deliver this information even to the have-nots in the society by working with partnerships with NGOs, with doctors, with clinicians, through digital medias, through social medias. I believe I want to be inclusive. Personally, for me, it is very, very important that we include all aspects of society and not just work with a certain segment. I'm an entrepreneur, but I'm also a doctor, I'm also a businesswoman, and I believe I would like be empathize with the society that cannot. As a doctor, I believe it is more important for the have-nots to be included in society, to uplift all of society. And while it is a challenge, as long as I think of it as a challenge and as a priority, I'm sure I will be able to deliver it even to the have-nots at some point in time.
So how, in what way are you trying to push down the cost price and be able to price it in a way where it's reachable for the mass? Is it working with the government, subsidizing the kind of cost that gets involved in the product rollout? Or is it more of trying to get more players in so that you can get some sort of you build it en masse so that the prices go down by unit? Where do you...
So I would take up on your last segment which you just said. So
economies of scale kind
doing
of
it en masse is something what we call is population genetics, which many governments in the globe as of today, for example, Singapore is doing population genetics where they're looking at 1 million kind of database of people. Likewise, the GCC countries, I was just at Dubai recently. So there are a number of governments which are moving into this sphere. But as a private player, I would certainly like to contribute to it. And we do have a system of building it and making it more affordable for the public by also at the other spectrum negotiating with suppliers on en masse or mass capacity testing where we could bring down the cost of this product. Eventually, there are a lot of medical papers and literature which state that over a period of say 10 years from now, where you could look at a whole genome from 1,000 to 2,000 US dollars, it would go down to maybe less than half or 1/3 of it. It is definitely a progressive space to be in, and I'm sure as one of the few key pioneers in this space, we will be able to drive down costs and bring it to your doorstep.
Okay, what about the subsidization angle or the collaboration with governments right now?
Yes, we are actively looking at collaboration with multiple governments, but as I said, some of that is confidential for now. So in terms of business specifically, but yes, as players, we always look to governments and work collectively with them and multiple private players, not just one player, because when you're looking at government trying to be an all-inclusive player, I'm sure everybody should get a piece of what we are trying to do here so that we can genuinely benefit the society.
To the young women that are thinking right now of venturing into STEM and entrepreneurship and both, what would be some of your messages to them?
Women, I think, are very well placed as of today to move into science and technology because I think in universities there is gender equality in terms of opportunities available. The disparity really occurs when subsequent to that, when you have more men possibly transitioning into the entrepreneurial space for science. But I personally believe that if women play to their strengths, which is that we are very hardworking, we are perseverant, we are very tenacious, and I think we can achieve what we want. And more importantly, we shouldn't neglect our careers and play to our dependencies in our lives, sometimes which are socially and culturally driven, but keep strong and dream with our mind open. I think we women can achieve all frontiers.
There is an issue of geography facilitating the growth of women. I have 2 daughters. I feel that they are a little bit more fortunate because they're here in Malaysia, which is a little bit more facilitative, but still there are some challenges that need to overcome. What about people that might not necessarily, or young women that might not necessarily be in a geography where it's conducive for them to grow? What was your message to them then?
I would still ask them to continue dreaming and believing and try to study best, because I think science is a lot to do with study. So the main thing is to get your education right, and from then on you will find opportunities, tap the best of the opportunities that you can get. Times are changing, you will find your space. I think it's a matter of time only. It's people like you and I talking here will also motivate them perhaps to take the next step.
Yeah. Also women entrepreneurs as well.
Yes.
That was Dr. Rachna Kairon, the MD of Synapse Laboratory. If you want to learn more, just head off to their website. Also, you can find out more about these kind of information here on astroawani.com. My name is Ibrahim Sani. Catch you in the next one.